Hey there, SEC sports fans. It's another episode of the Brew and Shavers SEC Sports Podcast, where today we're taking a look at the coaches in the SEC. Which coaches are completely secure this year? No chance of getting fired. Which ones might be on the edge? And which ones are definitely on a hot seat? Here we go. As always, I am joined by my incredibly research oriented, sports obsessed, particularly SEC co host, Darren. Darren, how you doing today?
How could I? I mean, how could I be doing anything but be doing great? You start an episode by being called a sports fanatic that's research oriented. I mean, that's pretty high praise. I'll take it. No matter how the rest of my day's been, I'm good.
You deserve it, my friend. How are your shoulders feeling?
How are my shoulders feeling? I think okay. Well,
I mean, you carried the show last week, did a terrific job. So kudos to you, my friend. Great job.
and I would just like the record to reflect that I talked positively about Lane Kiffin, even when you weren't here. Just throwing that out. I want the record to reflect that.
Yeah, there's something about he's not here, but this is going out for public consumption, so we probably gonna hear it.
This is going to be for the record. So,
Well, I'm sure in the course of this show, we'll alienate some fan bases, we'll anger some people, we'll have some cheering for us, agreeing completely. So why wait any longer? Let's just jump into it. Let's take the dive, starting with the first category of coaches. And these are the ones that you are calling, Darren, the
yeah,
bulletproof coaches, in meaning that there is no way, any way, anyhow, they will be fired this year. So, Darren, let's get into the list of who are your bulletproof SEC coaches.
these are guys that could burn the stadium down, and they're still good. Nothing's going to happen.
Just
I
don't
mean,
touch the Piggly Wiggly.
yeah, exactly. The obvious one on this list is Kirby Smart. When your head coaching record at a school is 117-21, with back-to-back SEC championships, national championships under your belt, who's going to argue? What's going to happen for you to go anywhere? And so I think not only is he on this list, Kirby Smart is the top of this list. I tell you, I had to think really hard about the next one. Kalen DeBoer, it hasn't been the best time at Alabama. However, I think he bought at a minimum a 1 year reprieve of people staying on him because of the CFP appearance. I actually spoke to an Alabama fan today, had a conversation with an Alabama fan today, and he said, well, that championship still stings, but we at least made it to the playoff. The championship game was embarrassing, but at least we made it to the playoff, which that game didn't really go well either. But I think it's a little bit of proof of concept. So maybe the Alabama fans will at least turn it down a notch. We'll see. He can't come out of the gate with anything weird because that could totally change his spot on this. But I think for right now, he's definitely in the bulletproof category. I think Steve Sarkisian, for the offseason is there. I don't think there's anything that could touch him. I do think with all the hype around Manning and everything, if it does get weird at some point where things are really off the rails, that could change the conversation. But I don't think anybody really thinks that's likely. So I definitely have him on the bulletproof list. Lane Kiffin at LSU. He is now the official chosen one of Baton Rouge. So I don't think he could do anything. And I think he has a track record to show he's not going to start off with, let's say like a neutral site loss to Florida State. He's probably not going to start his tenure like that. So that helps as well. Then I think you have to put Clark Lee on this list. I mean, there's no such thing as 1,000% when you're the Vanderbilt head coach, unless you were the coach of the year, had a Heisman candidate as your quarterback, and had the first ever double digit regular season win total in school history. I think at least for a year, that gives you 1,000% tenure. I don't think anybody's going to bother him at Vanderbilt. And I think, he's back to back bowl appearances, one in bowls. He is right there where he needs to be just absolutely on solid ground at Vanderbilt. Then obviously Mike Elko at A&M. I mean, the team loves him. The fan base loves him. They're ready to see a Texas win. I think that's kind of the one in the side of the A&M fans. But regardless, I think he's on sure footing. And then I think you got to go, the three new guys, John Summerall, Alex Golish, and Will Stein at Kentucky. I mean, obviously they're bulletproof this year. I mean, things have to be on a ridiculous level if you're on the hot seat during your first year. You're still very much, unless you're Brian Hartson at Auburn, was that the right? Unless you're him, you're still in the honeymoon phase during your first year. So Alex Golish, yeah, might want to watch what you say and kind of outfits, what color outfits your wife wears to alumni meetings. You might want to watch that stuff just to keep on the bulletproof list. But I think those three guys are pretty safely there on this list for their first year. What do you think?
Yeah, you'd expect the new guys to
Yeah.
be on the list, the honeymoon stage. Also, this is such a great time to be a coach because every no you haven't played any games. So
Oh,
you can
absolutely.
talk about how strong our roster is, the players we got. We're so excited for next year.
Absolutely.
So this is a great time to be a coach, particularly a new coach
A
where
first year coach.
there's
Yeah.
expectations, maybe tempered in some cases. I am a little surprised by Kalen DeBoer making this list, Darren. And I wonder if I could prod you a little bit to get more of your thinking because yeah, they made the playoffs, but that was a humiliating loss
Yeah.
in the playoffs.
Very much so. Yeah. And those were those last two games being a very sour taste in every Alabama fan's mouth was it definitely made me pause. But again, I think that proof of concept as that sting kind of wanes a little bit, that proof of concept of second year made it to the playoffs. This year we'll be able to do this. It'll build a little bit of optimism, I think. But he's the most insecure on this spot because if they start out with a couple of one or even especially two bad losses, if the offense looks horrible, if something like that were to happen, it could get dicey quick for him. But I think with my entire thinking was as time goes throughout the offseason and you start talking about next year, I think we made the playoffs is going to be a bigger topic of conversation than those two losses. Now, I will say the Alabama fan I talked to today, he did make me really guess myself because when I asked him how things were going in football, Alabama football world, the first thing he said was, "Boy, I hated those two losses at the end of the season." Oh, you're making me second guess myself, but I'm
Yeah,
gonna roll with it.
yeah, yeah. Good choices. I do want to mention Lane Kiffin. Right now they haven't played any games with him as
Right,
head coach. So all the public opinion could change very quickly.
very
But
true.
right now, he has written a textbook on how to jump in and
Yep.
win over your fan base because he is all over the state of Louisiana. He is traveling to literally every corner of the state. He's co-marshaling Mardi Gras
Yep.
parades and taking time to pose with pictures. He's going to women's basketball games and men's baseball games, and he's a fixture in Baton Rouge at different eating places. He even stopped and ate at one of our favorite places,
That's
Darren,
right. Yeah, that's
Billy's
right.
Boudin. So he he's writing a textbook
Yeah,
on how to embrace, and it's such a polar opposite of what Brian Kelly did when he
absolutely.
came.
And you I think you were the one that said it at some point when we were talking about Brian Kelly that it was more of a personality fit than anything else. That he had to be perfect in his success, or there was going to be an issue, because the way he did things, his chosen methods. Not that there's necessarily it may fit and work somewhere else, and obviously has in the past, but it never fit with the personality of this state. I think, just like you said, the exact opposite. Everything about Lane Kiffin's personality and his chosen methods of the way he does things, just you talking about hand in glove fits with the personality of the state of Louisiana.
And that matters so much.
Oh,
In
absolutely.
every state, particularly Louisiana, that's where we are. Coach Ho is still beloved, even though you take away that 2019 season,
It was
it's
bad.
not a very impressive tenure at all.
Exactly.
But the guy still is beloved in
Yep.
this state because he's part of the people here. And I think any coach to embrace the culture, and I haven't really kept up much on how DeBoer is doing that in Alabama. I think Sarkisian has done that in Austin.
Yeah.
Definitely Clark Lee in Vanderbilt. Of course, Kirby in
Yeah.
Georgia. He played at Georgia,
Yep.
so. Yeah, that's a common denominator, I think, in these coaches who are bulletproof, and we'll see about the other new ones.
Yeah. The new
It's
guys.
really embracing your fan base.
Yep.
College Station loves Mike Elko,
Absolutely.
um, and so I just don't know Summerall and Golish and Stein how they're really. I'm sure they're doing things to
Yeah.
endear themselves to their fan base, but what an important point to make, and a definitely huge misfire from Brian Kelly. And we could probably name others that have come into the SEC taking jobs, and we're just like, oh boy, this is not going to work out.
Oh, well, I mean, we just talked about Harson at Auburn. I
Yeah.
mean, basically the second day, I mean, his first day on the job, post press conference, there was already conversation of, oof, not going to work. And man, it didn't.
Hmm. Yeah. So those are your bulletproof
Bulletproof.
coaches. Let's move to the borderline coaches. Things could go a couple different directions for these coaches this year. It could be very good for them, or if losses start to mount up, they're going to find themselves on a seat that's getting a little warm. So, who you have on this list?
Well, the first one on this list, I put on there in protest, but I was trying to be also realistic about not just my opinion, but the fan base's opinion. So I think Josh Heupel at Tennessee is a second 8-win season away from the conversation being completely different about him within the Tennessee fan base. I think he has to take a step up this year, or the heat is really going to be turned up. The rhetoric is really going to get loud with him, because it was already that way last year, even in an 8-win season. That was not a horrible. I mean, they had a good season. It's really interesting to me the way this fan base is reacting to Josh Heupel. Again, just like we were talking about with the Arkansas hire, uh, Heupel wasn't the most um, jump off the page name when he was hired. So I think there's always been that little bit of an underground there with him. Now he's had an 8-win season. Things didn't look the best. And it just my 2 cents worth in a short little rabbit chase. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It blows my mind. Tennessee fans, this is the athletic department that hired Jeremy Pruitt. Come on, man. Be careful what you wish for. Let's play the patience game here and see what he can do. Because prior to this 8-win season, there hadn't been a whole lot to complain about with what he's done, with everything he had to overcome. Take a chill pill, as the old saying goes. But realistically, with the fan base and the temperature of where it is now after this 8-win season, and honestly, ending your season on the kind of loss that they had to Vanderbilt at home, that did not help at all.
Yeah.
So he's obviously, especially when it comes to the Tennessee fan base, he is firmly planted on this borderline list. Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri.
He's going to have a new quarterback this year.
Oh, that's right, because the other one was apparently is the only guy that can't get an extension in college football.
Yeah. Yeah.
For whatever reason, however that works. I don't know. I don't understand all the ins and outs of that, but apparently he's the only guy that when his eligibility is out, they send him on. They're just not going to stand for it.
Yeah. I'm done trying to figure that one out.
There's just you talking about a moving goalpost. I mean, half mercy. That's what the entire NCAA regulation process is right now, just a moving target. Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri. He's had a great run at Missouri. He's fresh off of a contract extension the previous year, but things have got to, he's got to take another step. I think he will quickly find himself in a place similar to Stoops at Kentucky. If he doesn't progress, if they're sitting there at 8 wins and tough losses in the conference or blowout losses in the conference, things like that. I think there's got to be a step beyond that for him to jump up to that bulletproof list. Pete Golding at Ole Miss, he was the hire that made sense. But as we've seen in the past, just because it's the hire that makes sense doesn't mean it's the hire that sticks. I think he's got to come out guns a-blazing. He needs a good year for the fan base to feel like, okay, this is our guy. This is not just he was the closest guy standing to the guy that left town. He's our guy. He's going to do good with this program. He's going to keep us going in the right direction. And then Brent Venables at OU, he's got to, we talked about it last year, going into last year, that even a 9-win season probably would not have been enough for this past year. Thankfully, he did get to that 10-win mark. He did take some steps, but it can't continue to be a great defense with a tragic offense. That will not continue to sit well with the Oklahoma fan base. The offense has to show something this year. And that's why I have him on that borderline list, just because of that discrepancy in the two sides of the ball. I think he has to show this year the entire program is moving forward.
Yeah, he's got his quarterback coming back, so that's huge. I think you're spot on with the analysis on what has to happen at OU. Eli Drinkwitz, great comparison to the situation with Stoops. When you get your university to start putting more money into the program, that increases the pressure, and they've done some extensive expansion of their stadium and renovations. So suddenly those 8-win seasons don't feel as good. And then Pete Golding, I think it was the right hire at the time. Yeah. Ole Miss has spent a lot of money in the transfer portal. Their transfer portal class ranks up near the top. So really, he's got Trinidad Chambliss coming back. He's got Kewan Lacey coming back. So if he's able to really do a top-notch job coaching with the talent he has there, he'll be okay. But as you say, Darren, if Ole Miss loses 3 games, if they don't make it back to the playoffs, suddenly people are going to question that hire, and the seat's going to get warm.
Absolutely.
So let's go now to the coaches who burned. That's such a harsh word, Darren. Burned.
But it's true.
Hot seat coaches, the burn coaches. I love the alliteration, by the way.
Thank you.
You weren't even an English major in college, were you?
No, I was not. I did teach English in middle school for a few years. Those poor kids. But yeah, I did at least do that.
Well played. So let's look at the coaches that you have placed on the burned list.
I think the first two are obvious. Shane Beamer at South Carolina, Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State. Shane Beamer, he cannot weird facial expression, the refs are out to get me, other coaches don't like me, his way out of this one. It's got to be a good year, or he's going to have problems. Truthfully, I read a lot in doing some research for this that truthfully, if his buyout was not as high as it is, there was a lot of people that wanted to pull the trigger after this season. That he basically survived this season and got another year because of the size of his buyout. I mean, when that's the conversation, man, it's got to happen. There is no, we had a rash of injuries, this happened, that happened, our schedule was, none of that works. It's got to happen if that's the conversation around the stability of your job. With Jeff Lebby, there is absolutely no doubt that he improved that program year over year. Right on the edge of 6 wins, still ended up in a bowl. That didn't go well, but they still still ended up in a bowl. But I think this has to be a definitive step forward kind of year. I think he's been, and rightfully so, been given a lot of grace in these first couple of years because of what he was bringing the program out of. And so I think it's very justifiable that he's been given grace over these 2 years. But if they hang right at that 5-6 win, or even worse, take a step backwards this year, I think the grace period's over. We've hit the max on grace period, and there's going to be a lot of conversation about, is this the right move? Is it time to move on? Mm. And then I know might be a little bit of a surprising to have a first year coach on here, but Ryan Silverfield at Arkansas, he was not a popular hire. He did not jump off the page. There was immediate backlash, just like we talked about with Heupel, from a large group within the Arkansas fan base. And if he comes out and lays an egg, that is not going to be a good thing. There's going to be conversation about, where can we pull, how much Walmart and Tyson chicken money can we pull to go ahead and get the buyout and get this thing over with? It's not going to work. He's got to have a good first year. I don't think he has to be ridiculous, have one of those, look at this, we're 10-2 and going to the playoffs. I don't think it has to be anything like that. But he's got to, number one, the on-field product has to be better than anything they've seen the last couple of years. That's an absolute must. And number two, it's got to produce. He's got to win his out of conference games, and he's got to sneak, 2 or 3 conference wins in his first year for people to kind of back off a little bit, I think.
Yeah. I think the Razorback faithful, they'll be patient with them. But if it goes south,
yeah,
ouch.
Yeah, if he loses a couple of non-conference games and it looks like it's going to be a 2-win season, that'll be an ugly, ugly conversation in a hurry.
Yeah. And the question about expectations of fan bases also weighs in on this.
Absolutely.
You look at the resources that schools put in their facilities, and so you don't want to, everybody wants to win the SEC. Everybody wants to go to the playoffs. Everybody wants to compete for a national championship. Right. But is that a reality for everybody? Is that a reality for South Carolina? Is that a reality for Mississippi State? I don't know the answer to that question, but I think that has to go into when you look at your coaches like Jeff Lebby. I think he definitely deserves more time. I know there's some Mississippi State fans that are just they're ready to move on, move on. But I would give him some more time because the question is who are you going to get there? And
exactly,
and that's a question that always has to be asked.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have someone you're going to target? Do you have someone in mind that is going to be a definite upgrade? I hate it for Shane Beamer, and it hasn't worked out very well at South Carolina. I think he's good being in the SEC. I think he's good for the SEC, but it definitely has not been a good last few seasons for him. I'm curious, Darren, so we look at the list that you put together here today. Josh Pate came out with the top 10 college football head coaches. And so in the SEC on his list, he had Kirby Smart, he had Lane Kiffin, Kalen DeBoer, Steve Sarkisian, and Mike Elko.
Interesting. So 5 of the top 10, according to Josh Pate, are SEC coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Who was number 1?
He had Ryan Day at number 1.
Interesting. Okay.
Now, Joel Klatt came out with his own list, top 10 college, and it's different. He had Cignetti from Indiana at number 1, but he had Kirby Smart on the list. He had Steve Sarkisian on the list, and he had Lane Kiffin on the list. So he only had 3 SEC coaches on his top 10 list.
And he had Sarkisian and Pate did not, correct? Or did you say Sarkisian? Did I just miss it?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
Pate had him at number
he did.
8.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Interesting, but he only had 3. And he had Cignetti as 1. I mean, you gotta feel good about a guy that's going to be bringing in $13 million a year at Indiana for football.
Boy, if you told me that a couple years ago, I would have called you a liar.
Have mercy. $13 million a year to coach football at Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
What in it? That's going on in Indiana, and Vanderbilt had a 10 win season. What is happening in college football, man?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I think I would lean more toward 5 of the top 10 being SEC than only 3. I think all of Josh Pate's picks were solid picks. I don't think you could argue a whole lot about people that deserve to be above them, inside that top 10.
Yeah, some differences in the list. Klatt had guys on his list like Kyle Whittingham from Michigan that left Utah and went
That
to
left
Michigan.
Utah? That was basically getting out of football until he decided to take the Michigan job?
And he had Kalani, is it Sataki from BYU?
Yeah, BYU, okay.
Those were the only 2 differences in the list I see. So, but yeah, I thought that was interesting. You had those guys on there.
Yeah, Kyle Whittingham is an interesting. I mean, I think if you're in that world, in Big 12 world, you could do entire podcasts debating what his legacy truly is. That's an entire show, because it's really, when you look at what he's done at Utah, it doesn't stand out in a way that what Ryan Day has done at Ohio State or what Kirby has done at Georgia. It does not stand out in that way. But when you look at what he's done at Utah, if you put kind of that lens on it comparative to Utah before him, it's impressive what he's done. He presents a solid resume. I still don't know that he presents a Michigan level resume, so that's really interesting to see how that's going to work out. But still, that's an interesting conversation about exactly where you kind of place him. I definitely don't think I would put him ahead of an Elko. I mean, obviously he's done it longer.
No.
Obviously he's done it longer and maintained success on varying levels for quite a while. But I don't think I would put him above an Elko.
Yeah, and you're looking at a guy that appeared to be looking at retirement.
Yeah, exactly. He
And
was on his way out.
They named his successor. He's leaving. It's almost like Michigan. They looked at the colossal mess their program is in right now, and we need somebody to bring stability, restore order, get this program on a positive footing. I don't see the Whittingham being it's not a long-term hire. I think it's a short-term, and they found a guy that has a track record of having a stable program.
Yep.
No scandals.
Exactly.
And, winning a good fair share of football games.
He's winning ball games, and there's not been any conversation about him sending assistants to ball games with flip phones to record signals. So that's got to be worth something if you're Michigan at this point in the deal, right?
Darren strikes back.
Just saying. I haven't seen, and because we don't cover SEC, now that I've brought him up, I'm going to go blank, and that makes me absolutely nuts. But the offensive coordinator that was with Whittingham the whole time he was in Utah. He was the offensive coordinator for a long time. And matter of fact, Derek Mason's most successful years at Vanderbilt were with that offensive coordinator. He coached up Kyle Schumer incredibly. And now, dadgummit, I'm just absolutely blank on his name. Somebody put it in the comments, you big dummy, and tell me what his name is. I haven't seen if he's going to Michigan with him, because if he is, that's an important piece of the puzzle because they work very, very well together. Whittingham's worst 3 years at Utah were the 3 years that he was at Vanderbilt. That old coordinator was at Vanderbilt. They're a good team.
I'm stunned right now, Darren. You can't remember the name of a Vanderbilt assistant coach?
It's just making me nuts, and he was so good.
Tennessee fans know the names of all their assistant coaches.
Yeah, because they want them fired. That's why.
Oh,
I couldn't resist
goodness.
that. I just couldn't
No,
resist
no, no.
that.
That was a softball. You hit it
It
out of the
was.
park. Well played.
Okay, I had to take a second. I had to find it. It was making me nuts. Andy Ludwig is the offensive coordinator's name. I cannot believe I could see the dude's face because they used to call him the offensive professor because he wore the little small rim glasses and just had that kind of professor look to him. They used to call him the offensive professor. I could see his face. I just couldn't come up with his name. If Andy Ludwig is going to Michigan with Kyle Whittingham, that's a move that Michigan fans should be happy about. That'll be a positive for the program.
Way to finish the job. You were not about to exit this episode until you found the name of that coach.
You told me I couldn't do something Tennessee fans did. What, you expect me to sit with that?
Inspiration comes in all shapes and forms.
Exactly.
Speaking of inspiration, would you do us a favor and hit that like, subscribe button? Leave us a comment as well. Do you agree with the coaches and the list that they were put on today? If not, be sure to take issue with Darren on all of that. But in all seriousness, we do appreciate your comments. Absolutely. It means a lot when you subscribe. New episodes come out at least every Tuesday. Sometimes we have more than one episode or short in a week, so look for those. You'll always be notified if you subscribe. Absolutely. So until next time, y'all take care.
Have a great week.